Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Catherine. I am a professional yodeler and singer who lives in Los Angeles, and today I want to talk about the reality of what it looks like to be a professional yodeler, specifically in California. I'm going to talk about what my day-to-day life looks like, how much I work as a yodeler, how much I make as a yodeler, what some of the really fun parts of the job are, and what some rather tricky parts of the job are as well. A lot of people don't know what it could look like to be a professional yodeler and make money that way. So I'm going to tell you today. If you're curious about how I became a professional yodeler, please watch my other video on how that happened. I'm going to link it below, and I'm also going to put a little sticker here that you can click if you want to watch that video first, so you know how I even became a yodeler. There's a lot of advantages to have a niche job like this one, and then there's also some downsides to it as well. First off, as you can maybe imagine, yodeling isn't a daily job like a office job would be. I'm not working 9 to 5. I'm not even working year-round as a yodeler. Yodeling, in my case at least, is a very seasonal job, mostly seasonal because I have some gigs throughout the year here and there, but I have 2 months out of the year that get very busy. It's September and October because a lot of people here celebrate Oktoberfest. There's a lot of events that want German bands, and that's where my yodeling comes in. So I'm the lead singer and yodeler of my own band. We're called Lady Hosen, and that's what I do a lot in September and October. So I don't always work as a yodeler every other day of my life or even during the week. I sometimes get gigs that are TV performances or TV game shows where when they look for a yodeler, they will call me or they will find me if they're looking for a female yodeler. Because it is so niche, I often will be found. I don't have to apply for a lot of those things because if they're looking for someone, they will find me. So that is really cool. I really enjoy that. On the flip side, there aren't a lot of jobs for yodelers specifically, so I will not work as much as some other singers that are known for their other styles of singing, which could be pop singing, musical singing, or just generally recording artists. I haven't really found a good footing there. So that's something that I would still love to do because I, like I said, don't only work as a yodeler, I also have to take other jobs. And that includes other singing jobs and me teaching music lessons in my case. I also work with animals occasionally, but that is more of a side job for me. My day-to-day job is teaching singing lessons, piano lessons, and yodeling lessons when I get very lucky and get a yodeling student. But I also get to teach you guys, if you have watched my other videos on YouTube, on how to yodel and the tips for yodeling and some yodeling exercising videos. So one could say that it is a disadvantage that I don't have full-time work with this type of job, but I personally really prefer it that way. I am someone who loves to do different things all the time and not have one thing that I do every single day and for a very long and extended period of time. So it works very well for me, but obviously if you're someone who needs consistency, then a niche job like yodeling isn't super ideal. So the way that I do work as a yodeler, when I work as a yodeler, like I said, I have my band, so I gig and tour with my band in September and October. We're mainly in the Los Angeles area where we play at different Oktoberfests, such as Big Bear Lake Oktoberfest and Lake Arrowhead Oktoberfest, but we also go up to San Francisco once a year now for a big Oktoberfest that they have right in the middle of the city of downtown San Francisco, which is really fun. And we get to see a lot of people. A lot of drunk people. So it's not always my personal vibe, but it can be very fun. For me personally, what's tricky is that I need to be very high energy for these gigs, which I don't often feel like. I can be very much ADHD. I just got diagnosed with ADHD, but I also have an autistic side to me that feels very uncomfortable when I have to play a role that I am not in that moment. I wouldn't say I'm nervous, but I get very stressed before the gigs. I also take on the role of band leader, so that means I am scheduling all those gigs and I'm making all the contracts and I'm the one responsible for everything, so there's extra pressure for me. So it's very high intensity and it is exhausting. It is physically demanding. It is demanding for my voice because we often play 4 sets of 45 minutes. That's a lot to sing, and there are several gigs every weekend usually, where we have between 2 and 4 gigs every weekend. if you add that up, it's really exhausting for my voice as well. That's why I often sound very funny or hoarse during that time of the year. So it's very exhausting. It's very fun too, but it is a stark contrast to the rest of my year. I'm going to show you some more clips as well of other Oktoberfest events, of our performances, of our drives, so you can look at that right here. A typical gig day usually means getting up fairly early, earlier than I usually would, to get ready, put on my dress or pack my dress depending on where the gig is, and put on makeup, do my hair, and then get to the gig for sound check. So we're usually there either 1 hour early or sometimes even 3 hours before we actually start. Then we play, we have our sets. Sometimes we also have to do games that we MC, like sign holding, and we often do a yodeling contest for fun. We do a little yodeling lesson, and then we sometimes get to stay where we are playing, but often we drive back home. But usually it's very long days, it's exhausting. The drives are usually like 2 hours one way. So as you might guess, it's exhausting. During the week, I still teach my lessons. So I still teach my piano and voice lessons that I teach. So that is also still happening while I'm being a yodeler. Another thing that I have to plan for is food while I'm at the gigs. A lot of gigs don't have vegan and gluten-free options, which is my dietary choice and my dietary need also. So if I want to eat good food and want to make sure I'm fed, I often bring food myself. I just have to plan in advance a little more. So that just adds another layer of planning and time management. During the gig and while we're on stage, it can either be very low energy sometimes when there's a smaller audience, or when the event is just kind of a more casual event where we're background music. And then there are other events where people are really, really into it, and they're drinking lots of beer and they're having fun and they're singing along to the songs, and they're just really engaged with us. And it can make me feel a little bit like a star sometimes, because people come up to us afterwards and they tell us how great they thought it was, how fun we are. And that really just gives me energy back. So often when I come home at night, I actually feel very buzzed, and it's hard for me to come down again because I had that gig high, but I am at the same time very exhausted. So it's something that I guess you'd imagine if you think about touring. So what I really love about the gigs is that I get to meet so many people. I get to see different places that I otherwise might not go to. I get to hang out with my bandmates more, and just because of the craze and how crazy and busy it all is, I sometimes just get to find the crazier side of me again, which is often very dormant during the year when I don't have a lot of live gigs. I tend to be a hermit a little bit, but the live gigs bring me out of my shell whether I want it or not, so that is a good thing, and it is fun. However, the fun often also turns into just that overwhelm that I mentioned, and I tend to easily get adrenal fatigue, especially since it's still very hot at the beginning of September and often throughout all of September. I just have to balance things as well as I can to make it through those 2 months, because I'm always ready to just be done at the end of Oktoberfest season, as we call it, to be done. And then throughout the rest of the year, when we have those singled out performances, sometimes we do Maifest, which is the same as Oktoberfest, but it's in May. And we have a few gigs there. Sometimes we do a few Christmas gigs. Those can be a little more nerve-wracking because they are outside of the season, and so I'm not as used to the routine as I am during Oktoberfest. But it is a nice change of pace, and it is nice that it's not so busy the rest of the year. I always get really, 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 really excited when I get called for a gig where I get to record some yodeling, or where I get to be a part of any sort of TV production. That's happened a few times, and it is so cool because I don't have to do all of the planning. I don't have to really do anything other than what people tell me the job is. And often in my day-to-day life, I'm responsible for all of the planning and all of the making sure that everything's going well. And when it's not my responsibility, when I get to do those type of TV performances, when everything's planned out and someone might even do my makeup and someone's helping me pick an outfit. One time I even had a vocal coach for a show that I was doing. I was on Game of Talents on Fox. It was a game show where people had to guess people's talent, and so they had to guess what I was, whether I was a yodeler or I think they had another option. It was something crazy. Yeah, there's a clip online. I'm gonna also link it below. So that was really fun because I just got to shine, and the makers of the show wanted me to shine. They wanted me to do the best job yodeling, whereas some other shows might be more about competing with other talent. And so that tends to be more stressful, but still very fun because, again, out of the norm for me. You see big movie studios where you get to film, everything's shiny, you feel special, and that is really fun. And so are recordings that are being used in either other YouTube videos for other people, for certain kids shows. I did a really fun recording for someone who makes kids videos, and it was a Christmas song with a yodeling llama worm. It was very funny. And so my brain just lights up when I get challenged with different things, especially when they're related to something that I do well, which is yodeling. So I love that about the job, and I love that it's not an everyday thing. I love that I get to make quite a bit of money during especially September and October. Generally for polka bands in this area, bands usually charge about $300 to $500 per musician. So that's what I make as well. And then of course I'm also the band leader, so I'm doing all the planning throughout the year. So there's more for me because of that, and that adds up in September and October. Unfortunately, I don't make the same amount of money during the rest of the year, but I'm also very happy that I don't have the same amount of stress during the rest of the year and physical fatigue and exhaustion from being on stage and being on my feet so much and dancing around and trying to animate people. So it's good and bad, like most things are. So my responsibilities as a yodeler in my specific life, the way that I'm doing it with my band, are talking or answering emails, people wanting to book us, figuring out what works, figuring out their budget, and making sure that the rate works, writing the contract with all the details in there, and then making sure that the deposits come through. So I'm also, of course, responsible for the money. I have to do the taxes. So basically, I'm everything. The way that I'm performing as a yodeler with my band, I am doing a lot of jobs in one. So it just adds on, which, you know, again, I'm not only the yodeler, I'm also the band manager. I'm also the person who writes the set list, who plans rehearsals, who makes sure we have pictures for our website, and yeah, and so on. So there's a lot of things to do even during the year, on top of my weekly schedule where I teach lessons and make YouTube videos for you guys when I'm not overwhelmed with Oktoberfest season. So yeah, if I had to tell you guys what it's really like, what a lot of people don't expect from being a professional yodeler, is all the stuff that you can't see that's going on behind the scenes. And the uncertainty of it all too. Of course, any sort of performer, you will have some sort of stress in your life because you never know how much work is going to come in. And then when a lot of work comes in, you might feel the pressure to take it all because you don't know how much you're going to make the next few months. Another thing that a niche job like yodeling kind of does, which I really didn't like for a long time, is that it puts you in a fairly small box. Until people figure out that you can do other things and that you can do other types of singing, and even then, you will be in their minds as the yodeler or as the niche thing that you are known to be. And that's great because you might meet people that otherwise you wouldn't meet. and be in places that otherwise you wouldn't be in, and it can open doors. But on the other side, you are in that small box in people's minds. So depending on how much of your niche job you want to do and how much you want to be known for only that, it can be a blessing and a curse, I would say. And I definitely struggle with that sometimes, because the yodeling is what makes me most unique, but it isn't all I want to do. And with every niche thing, I think there's only so much to it. You can go more in depth, but at some point you're going to run out of new things to talk about or new things to try. And if you are an artist like me, or if you have ADHD, you constantly want to try new things that give you that sense of newness and bring back the dopamine. That is something I do struggle with sometimes. I'm very happy though. It makes me so happy to see how much joy yodeling brings, because that's not something I expected really that much. And it brings me joy because it's fun to do, but it brings me even more joy when I see other people being excited by it and being in awe. And that is really cool. That's very fun. It is fun to know that I can do something that a lot of other people can't, whether it's because they just never tried it or haven't practiced it, or because they just really can't do it. I don't know, but it is really fun. To summarize this video, I feel like it was kind of chaotic, but I hope as I'm editing it, maybe less so. I have a niche job. I don't work that job all the time because it's a niche job. I have to do other things. I'm happy to do other things. I often feel stuck in a box. Sometimes the box helps me, sometimes it restricts me, and I get to make good money because it is a niche job. Find a niche job and you can charge more money because you might be one of the only people doing it. And if you find something like that, then that's golden, as long as you want to do it and as long as you know how to sell yourself. And as long as you have fun doing it, of course. But yeah, yodeling is great. I am not the cliche yodeler in the mountain all the time. I do love to yodel to animals and I do love to go to the mountains, but the reality of the job is it's a hard job. It really is a hard and fun job. And I hope that the clips that I added to this video gave you some sort of insight of what it's like, and maybe I'll get around to, at some point, make more of like a day in the life of a yodeler video where I can film a little bit more on the day of the gig and take you with me so you get an even better idea of what that looks like. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this video was interesting and enlightening. I hope that if nothing else, it was fun to watch. And I will see you in the next one. I will be teaching you more yodeling lessons. And as always, let me know in the comments what you would like to see, what you're curious about, what you struggle with when it comes to yodeling, or anything else. I'm happy to look at all your suggestions and do what I can. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this one. And don't forget to check out all the links to the videos and to my website in the description below. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.